what's up, everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to share a major flaw in the U.S. News Law School rankings. Before I get into it, a little bit about LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. Check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. And by the way, I should also mention that I'm looking for a couple of students who are aiming to achieve a 170 plus LSAT score on the August LSAT. If you have scored a 160 on a practice test at least once, you've been studying for at least 3 months, and you feel like you have a strong foundation, I'd love to hear from you. Check out the links below this video to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out and see if LSAT Unplugged is right for you. Now on to the major flaw in the U.S. News rankings. Specifically, the flaw comes down to this. U.S. News does not commit to a particular methodology until they've gathered all the data from all the schools, run a number of different simulations, giving different weightings to various factors, and seeing how those rankings would play out given those various different potential weightings. In other words, they have the ability to easily game the rankings. If they're aiming for a certain school to achieve a certain rank, they can just adjust the different characteristics of that school's data until they get the result they are aiming for. If you can imagine how ridiculous that is, let's say they wanted to make sure that Yale was going to fall from rank number 1 to rank number 5 or 6. They would just have to diminish the weight of whichever areas Yale is currently strongest in relative to other schools. And then they could make Yale drop in the rankings. Or, for example, if they were pissed off that Georgetown Law School's dean has been a particularly vocal critic of the rankings in recent months, they could cause Georgetown Law to fall out of the top 14, which it actually did in this year's rankings. I'm not saying that's why Georgetown fell out of the top 14 this year, but the fact that U.S. News does not commit to a consistent methodology year after year after year, but rather can adjust the different weightings of different factors however they'd like year to year, and it's a bit of a black box in terms of exactly what they do, it does raise the question, how authentic are these rankings? How objective are they? Or does U.S. News have the potential and incentive to play games with them? I'm going to quote here from a Wall Street Journal article titled "The Unraveling of the U.S. News Rankings" to shed some more light on just how ridiculous these rankings actually are. And I quote, "At a January presentation to law schools, Robert Morse, U.S. News' chief data strategist, disclosed that he didn't commit to a particular mathematical model until after receiving schools' data, according to Ian Ayres, an economist and Yale Law School professor who attended the event. Once that information was in hand, Dr. Ayres said, the team ran simulations giving various factors different weights to see the potential outcomes before deciding on a final method. Dr. Ayres said that approach violates fundamental social science research standards in which the methodology is specified ahead of time to prevent anyone from reverse engineering a preferred result." End quote. So that's the kicker. U.S. News has the ability and the incentive to reverse engineer preferred results. The reason being that they did not want the T14 to radically shift this year relative to last year, because if it had, that would raise some questions about the validity of the rankings in another sense, given that they are now limited to relying solely on publicly available data for a significant number of law schools, given that 12 of the top 14 law schools have, quote unquote, boycotted the law school rankings this year in protest of what they say are undesirable consequences of the impact the rankings have on schools' admissions decisions, how schools grant merit aid, and so on. So U.S. News actually had a reason to want the rankings to remain consistent, despite having a very different methodology this year relative to previous years. And so they could very easily have adjusted the various weights of different factors in order to maintain consistent rankings, despite having various factors shift significantly from previous years. All this to say, the rankings are fundamentally flawed I think that for quite a while, many folks have had an understanding that the rankings get far more attention and emphasis than they should, and they have too much importance on applicants' decisions in terms of where they choose to go to law school. But this question of the flaw in the methodology underlying the rankings, as Dr. Ayers shares in the Wall Street Journal piece, I think sheds additional light on just how absurd these rankings truly are. I want to add my own message here, which is that rather than placing quite so much importance on prestige and the rankings, I would instead encourage applicants to place a lot more emphasis on where you actually want to go to law school and the different scholarship offers you may get from various law schools. I always say it's better to go to a lower ranked school with more scholarship money than a higher ranked school with less scholarship money. So, in other words, if you could get a full ride or nearly a full ride at a school ranked 10 or 11, it might be a good decision to go there rather than a school ranked in the top 5. Of course, a lot depends on what you ultimately want to do after graduation. But if you want to maximize your options and minimize your debt, it may make more sense to go to a relatively lower ranked school if you can get significant scholarship money. And of course, the easiest way to get significant scholarship money is to become the strongest applicant you possibly can. So if you are still an undergrad, of course, give a lot of attention to your current GPA, boosting that GPA as high as you can. And most importantly, of course, is your LSAT score. Get the highest possible LSAT score you possibly can. And then beyond that, of course, your application essays, personal statement, diversity statement, optional essays and addenda, resume, letters of rec, and so on. But the LSAT is, of course, the biggest factor in the law school admissions process, weighing more heavily than GPA at virtually every single law school. And if you'd like my help preparing for the LSAT, whether through the live online classes we offer, the on-demand video courses, the small group coaching, the one-on-one coaching, we'd love to help you out. As I said, I'm looking for a couple of students who are aiming to achieve a 170 plus LSAT score on the August LSAT. So if you meet those criteria I mentioned earlier, meaning if you've been studying for at least 3 months, if you have a strong foundation already, and if you've achieved a score of 160 or higher on at least one practice test, I'd especially love to hear from you. So please, again, click the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. And if you found this video helpful, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really does help with that YouTube algorithm, and I really do appreciate it. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.